Everybody is doing well. This might not be too long. It's early and the weather is nice, and I have hopefully seedlings to tend to and doggies to tend to, but I wanted to check in, say hello, and cover this in brief as quickly as possible, and then maybe we can get into it a little more in depth. But I found a few interesting tidbits regarding our recent this new moon. They're talking about the what is it, the flower moon this time. There's also a movie coming out with Leonardo DiCaprio about the flower moon, and it's crazy the way like these, I call them the algorithms of life or nature work, because you'll see things come up at the same time. They'll like bubble to the surface in a variety of different niches or genres, usually unbeknownst to most people. It's usually not planned out that way, I don't think. But it's crazy how certain topics and certain words and certain, without computers, without trends, you would have things occur, in the world. People would notice things at the same time, or everybody would be interested in the stars, and then they would be interested in the sea, favorite colors, favorite foods. You see society go through like trends, and usually it is majority rules, as much as we like to say, some of us still, that we're Christians, that we're God-fearing people. Usually what happens in the secular world and in the non-secular world now is that majority rules. And so that's the problem we're having, is if we're not in the majority right now, then we are either going to be left behind, society will move forward without us, or sometimes you will see certain things lead to violence. So let me just say right now, I do not promote violence. I do not propagate violence. I'm a pacifist. I do not personally own any guns. I refuse to live where there are any guns. I realize they are a tool, but for me, in the history that I've lived with, they're not welcome in my presence right now because of situations and certain people I have around me. Also, anything I share is per the Fair Use Act. I think it's Section 207, Fair Use Act of 1976, for the purpose of education, criticism, and I forget what the entertainment. So everything shared here will be per the Fair Use Act. It's all readily available at your own fingertips. So feel free. What we do here is we cover a lot of topics, but they are relevant to the things that we're seeing in the world. We try to take off the mask of the material and look underneath at the spiritual drivers that are giving, certain things or certain ideals momentum to have them trend or come to the surface in the material world. I hope that makes sense. So let's check out Antares and learn a little bit about what that means. It is a bright star in Scorpio, and there's a connection with that. So we're gonna go to a couple weird places real quick, but put your thinking caps on, and then as you go about your day, see if you notice any of these things coming to the surface in your environment or surroundings. So the bright star in Scorpio, from Greek Antares, contracted from Antares, rival of Mars, and Mars is the god of war, in reference to its red color, which resembles that of the red planet. In Middle English, Cor Scorpionus. Anti, now let's break down the word. Anti meaning against or opposed to, like antichrist, anti-Christian. Opposite of or instead of. Ares is the Greek god of war in all its violence, brutality, confusion, and destruction, identified by Romans with their Mars. And see, I thought I thought Mars was the war of God, or the god of war. So this is new to me. So it's the Greek god of war in all its violence, brutality, confusion, and destruction. We're seeing a whole lot of confusion now and a whole lot of spiritual destruction, identified by Romans with their Mars, from Greek Ares, literally injurer or destroyer, from eri, bane or ruin, and perhaps cognate with Sanskrit erasia, ill will, or ire. Okay, so there's a little bit about Antares and what it is. And let's look now. That was the etymology tool. Let's look quickly at what Google has to say and show us. Here you see some size comparisons. Beetlejuice. I had no idea that was the name of like a star. All these things that are in our world, everything is below as it is above, right? And this is why I think sometimes that there's a star to go with every person, because of Cassiopeia. Her likeness is in the stars. For half the year she spends it upside down. We looked into that in the oh gosh, I'm not even gonna remember his name now. And the connection with movies, because it is mentioned twice in 2 different John Cusack movies. So we're going to look at Cassiopeia again, but right now it's Antares, and it's bigger than all of these. It's bigger than Beetlejuice. So you see that there, and it is red in color, which brought to mind the red kachina for me. Here you see where it is in the constellation. Okay, ruby red Antares is the Scorpion's heart. I find that very interesting. Also called Alpha Scorpii Red, a semi-regular variable star with apparent visual magnitude of about 1.1, the brightest star in the zodiacal constellation Scorpius, and one of the largest known stars, period, having several hundred times the diameter of the sun and 10,000 times the sun's luminosity. Let's turn these on in case they're not on. Thank you. Cassiopeia resonates with me so much. It's wild. I know, right? Welcome, Brandon. It's in the John Cusack movies, and he tells the same story, the same line, in 2 different movies, 15 years apart. Going to crap, but wanted to drop a line, a couple names, hoping you can address Dolores Cannon. I've touched on her. I have some books on her in my Kindle. If you'd like me to go there again, I will. Bashar, Tony Sayers, Santos Bonacci. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Absolutely. Bonacci I have to look into a little more. Tony Sayers I'm not familiar with. Sayers is actually a name that runs in our family, so that's kind of weird. But I know it's a common name too nowadays. So it shows you here in the different pictures where it's at in the sky and what its size is. Here's the orbit of Mars, red giant, Antares R, okay? So it brought to mind for me the red kachina. Sometimes Venus has been said to be Nibiru, that the original story or the original event was when Venus is in a certain spot in the night sky. So we'll look into that a little bit as well. I might have to walk out here and let my dogs out. Wow, I like him. Okay, great. Oh, absolutely. No worries. If you could, to remind me, post that on like the most recent community post or another video, because these lives don't post right away. Just so I remember their names. Bonacci I should remember, because that's like an Italian artist name. But the other 2, Dolores Cannon, Bonacci, and Sayers. I might be able to remember those. Dolores Cannon I have issue with. I take some issue with her. There are certain things in her teachings that I don't agree with, that I don't align with, but that doesn't mean she's wrong or I'm wrong. It just means either I'm not there yet or she's explaining things in a way that is different to my understanding. But there are some things that she says that absolutely resonate with me. Funny, I had somebody who was a friend of the channel who watched the channel who lives near where she supposedly lived, but when he mentions her names or talks about her, nobody knows who she is. So that too is weird. I sometimes wonder if they make up these characters that they show us. It doesn't matter what genre they're in, books, movies, even regular people. But sometimes I wonder, these people that they give a platform to, are they even real people? Are they people they created? Are they caricatures? They may not have had IA deep fakes back then, but they definitely could have made up a character and said, here, play this character, pretend like you're this person, just so we can get this message out in the world's consciousness, because They want us to believe certain things because, again, majority seems to rule at certain times in this place, especially when people aren't seeking nature's way, God's original way and intention for things, people, situations. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent there. So Antares is in Scorpio, okay? So we're going to look real quick. I'm going to do another quick search here, but then we're going to go back to Antares. I just want to show you something. So it's in Scorpio, right? And scorpions are in the Bible. Look at this. Look at how many recent news stories have to do with scorpions. This is wild. Okay, so this is a band, the Scorpions, unfurl Ukrainian flag at concert in Berlin. So that was 4 days ago. 1 week ago, they're talking about scorpions. Did you know there are scorpions in the Columbia River Gorge? No, I didn't. Lady Tarpons compete against cats, scorpions. Okay. Now here we go. North Brunswick head coach Brian Davis on continuing the Scorpions breakout. That was a week ago. And here's some other interesting things. Oh, sorry. My bad. What did I do there? Kentucky. Yes, Kentucky has scorpions. How to get them and other critters out of your home. I was unaware of that. Scorpions are no fan of heat. Here's how to protect yourself. Okay, now we're going to go here. Warmer weather, how to keep scorpions out of your home. Now here, girl 5, hospitalized after scorpion sting in pool wear at Las Vegas home. Las Vegas is big in the grand scheme of things. So is New York. I can't get into it right now, but they are definitely to be monitored and watched. And I will, again, I believe some news stories are put out with a purpose, even if they're not real. Scorpions, again, about their album. There's the little girl being stung in the pool. Why do scorpions glow in the dark? And here we have another one, the mirror. Tourists stunned to find a very poisonous scorpion inside a suitcase after a Cuba holiday. Okay. So they're talking about them a lot. Scorpions in Colorado, where they live and often they sting. So this is actually quite a lot of news for the word scorpion. Considering, they're not everywhere, they're not all over the place, they aren't like a star that everybody can see. This isn't like news. Now, the man and the girl, and I believe there was one more story about somebody getting stung, but I don't recall it right now, and so I don't want to get too far off the path here. Okay, so what we have coming up next is the strawberry moon. In June. So what is the strawberry moon? Well, I'm going to show you. Hopefully. That's something else to look at that we will look at. Here's everything to know about the strawberry moon. That's a little easier on the eyes. Sorry, anyone that's watching. Just after sunset on June 3rd, the full strawberry moon will rise in all of its stunning splendor. But whether you're celebrating it with a romantic picnic, dinner, or backyard barbecue for friends, you probably wouldn't mind a little strawberry moon either. Haven't you been wondering how June's full moon, generally the last of spring or the first of summer, got its name? So, okay, remember, we have summer solstice coming too. So there's a lot of big dates for the planets, for the stars, for the earth, which affects our bodies. We know that the moon and the tide affects a female cycle. Absolutely. There is no arguing these things. They are facts, as much as people thought they were taboo or some type of magic sorcery. What is above does affect what is below, okay? And I'm sorry for saying and so much. I have to gather my thoughts sometimes. When you don't script out the videos, that's what happens. I do write notes and such for the face-to-face videos so that I can look at you guys and not always at notes and stuff. But I like to let most things come from the heart and spontaneity. I don't think there's enough of that these days. Kind of like everything I don't think there's enough of, I'm trying to be more of. I don't think there's enough people who are shiny and good right now. So I'm trying to do whatever little extras I can for people and animals. Sometimes we're out of balance and we're out of alignment, and it can be caused by things that are happening in the sky. Now, the word choices are interesting too in some of this. So let me grab a drink of water. And I want to show you that as well. So there's an ad. Now, what is a strawberry moon? You can find special names for not only Junes, but each of the year moons and the Old Farmer's Almanac, which we're going to go to in a second. We know what the Farmer's Almanac is. It's a long published reference guide that contains everything from weather forecasts to gardening tips to astronomical data. They're actually amazing little pocketbooks to have around. They can help you in almost every area of life, as it says there. And again, we have to also understand this isn't, I mean, it might be a little mysticism, but it's not magic, and it's not black magic, and it's not witchcraft. It is simple knowledge that we have at this point in time to understand that what goes on above us affects us below. As above, so below isn't just some occult catchphrase. If you understand words and that words mean a variety of different things, or there are different words that mean the same things, you should understand that as above, so below is also in the Our Father. Let God's will be done on earth, or on earth as it is in heaven. That is saying the same thing. Although as above, so below, they're not giving grace to the Father, of course. They're not giving glory, credit to where it actually comes from. And that's the problem. Human beings it's in our wiring, it's in our makeup to worship something. And people think worship and they think of, oh, I got to be submissive to this thing. I have to be. Worship happens because you want it to. That's a whole thing about worship, is you can't make somebody do that. People will worship what they want to worship. Some people worship food. Some people worship alcohol. Some people worship drugs. Some people worship their partner. Some people have heroes. They worship sports stars. They look up to them. And hero is very similar. You know, how you look up to a hero, Laytown Samson, is how you will look up to, is how you would worship, right? That's another explanation, I guess. Another ideation of what worship actually is. You can't force somebody to do that. It is something that comes naturally. And some people just get out of order, and because they're not worshiping the Creator, as Melissa Doherty says, I like her channel, although I don't agree with everything she says. Her and I are on the same page as far as that goes. So anyways, back to the main point here. It tells you where the names come from. So according to the periodical, the moon names which appear in it were passed down through the generations from the original Native and colonial American sources, who used the unusual monikers to help them keep track of the seasons. For example, March's full worm moon, and worm has come up a lot in these end times of this age for sure, is believed to be named after the creepy crawly invertebrate that begins to emerge with spring-sowing soil, while the full sturgeon moon in August references the Great Lakes fish said to be most easily caught in late summer. Okay. The strawberry moon, June's full moon, is not so named because it necessarily looks like the fruit. Red-colored moons get their hue from their proximity to the horizon. The closer the moon is to the horizon, the more atmosphere its light rays must travel through, and the redder the moon appears. Instead, Native American people, including the Algonquin, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Lakota, called June's full moon the strawberry moon to mark the season when the wild berries mature and may be picked and consumed. So again, you have people looking to the sky to help them be better stewards of the earth and its fruit, as is our original intent. We were made to be stewards of the earth. That is where we will be the happiest, is in the position that we were created to fill. We were created to be stewards. We were created to be family. We were created to be friends. We were created to be lovers, not lusters, lovers. So whenever you get out of alignment from these original ways of nature that God mandated, you will have problems in this, yes, binary system. And these people saying, I am not binary, were probably the same people who were joining the blood over intent cult that we saw. I would advise you not to even watch those videos, because it is greatly affecting things right now. For some reason, entertainment is also entering our reality in certain aspects. And come on, boys, let's go outside. I'm sorry, my other old men are waking up. I thought I'd be able to finish this, but I'm going to let them out real quick. So just excuse the noise. I'm just a regular woman. I do not have a studio. This is not my job, although it would be awesome if it was. And I will work on things like this, but you can't really have a studio when you have living beings who are dependent upon you to continue living, right? Sorry about that. So there is no denying the fact that what is in the sky affects what goes on the earth. What is in the sky affects our bodies and what is within our bodies. And that we were created with a specific intent, and that I believe we are here to be refined towards that intent, but also to open up our hearts. I know from experience that, for example, being an NPC is a regular characteristic of a human being who has not yet faced any struggle to awaken their own true conscience within their own souled being. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times as children, we do what we are told, right? When I was a child, I often got my mouth washed out with soap. I hate Dial soap because of it, because I said no a lot. I would voice my opinion. No, I do not want to do that. No, I do not want to go there. No, I do not want to see these people. No, I don't want to stay with these people. So every time I said no, I would get my mouth washed out with soap. People wonder why, as I turned into adulthood, why I was just a peacemaker or a pushover, and I would do whatever I was told, because I thought that was the right thing to do. I thought that was my lot in life, and I thought that saying no was a quote-unquote bad thing or not allowed, right? Unallowed. I did not think I was allowed to do such a thing. So we have to understand that we are created with a specific purpose, and when we are outside of that purpose, things will kind of start to get in disarray or unorganized or out of order around us, right? You should be able to say no. You should absolutely, especially at the age of accountability, be able to say yes or no, I do like this or I don't like this. But I believe we are here to be refined, to be better stewards, and to have our true heart and conscience, our true free will activated. That's why I kind of think Eve had to, they had to eat from the fruit, or they would have never had free will. They would have just been like droids walking around, with no spirit. And that's not what God wanted. God wanted to share love. God created us out of the love that was in her own heart. Yes, I know that that's also now being degraded, that we're not supposed to call God a she. I don't know how I feel about that right now. I really don't. I know that the Bible says he. I get that. But I also know that the original texts, if you watch rabbis, and that's who I go to for Old Testament advice or teachings sometimes, because, it's their book. I take issue with some things, and I don't know everything. I don't, and I'm still learning with you guys, okay? But I know that what's above definitely affects us down here, and we're seeing a lot of that in these confused, these poor confused people who are, I'm non-binary, well, I'm this, well, I'm that. It's not okay. And that's what you get when so many people are trying to stand out and be noticed. And in today's media, you have to do wilder and crazier things to be recognized. You're going to have this disarray, right? But also you're going to have it when people are confused about their natural spot in the grand scheme of things in cosmology, right? If you don't know your natural spot, like a star off its path, you're going to be going this way and that way, and it's going to affect things that are around you. It's hot in here, so we have the fans running. I apologize. Okay, so what was I going to go to next? All right, so I want to show you this real quickly. This is scorpions. This is all the verses in the Bible that speaks of scorpions. Now, when we go to Revelation 9:10, I've done a whole video on this on the original channel before I deleted it. And they had tails similar to scorpions, and there were stingers in their tails, and these had the power to harm men for 5 months. So they're similar to scorpions, and there are stingers in their tails. But again, we're using poetic language and metaphors. Are they really talking about scorpions or something else? When they talk about having the hair of man and the teeth of a lion, but that they are locusts and that they come out of the pit, they really remind me of what we do with drones. They're fighting wars now with drones, but you could say that they have the hair of man, they have the face of man, because that's who's controlling the drone is man. But also, and this is where it gets weird, and this is why I look at so many different aspects or paradigms, and I come from a Christian paradigm, but I don't believe in the political paradigm. I don't believe in the entertainment paradigm. I don't believe in the sports paradigm. I believe in empirical evidence, right? I do believe in science. A lot of Catholics were doctors of the church. They were scientists. Galileo, Newton, I believe both of them were. And so you can have faith and science. You kind of do need both. Science proves what our heart and minds are already telling us, and that is faith, right? Belief without sight is faith. So what your heart and mind, what your inner spirit, what the Holy Spirit within, that little piece of God within you is telling you, then you go check it out with research. That's how my body operates. That's how my system operates. But again, my system has been the opposite of most people's. And in this time, that's actually being helpful to me, because I can see what's going on and I can say, all right, I'm going to do the exact opposite of that. Or I know that at least I'm kind of on the right path, because at least I'm not going with the flow and getting caught up, right, in all of these messages. Because basically what they're doing in layman's terms is tearing down our society brick by brick from within. They're using our own children. They indoctrinated our own kids to hate their own country. You should never hate your own country. That's like hating your pilot that's in charge of your plane. Same for hating your president. You should always pray for these people. You shouldn't wish bad upon them, right? Because unfortunately, we are all in this together, and they are in control of some of this. And so the best thing we can do is that pray that, their eyes are opened, and pray that they listen to the God within, and pray that the God without, the God that is in everything but is also above us, pray that God touches their hearts. But here you see all these different verses relating to scorpions, okay? And now we're going to change gears real quick. Was it over here? Is that where I was going to go? Okay. Oh, I know. Now we're going to do this real quick, because I just want to do a quick comparison. Now there are stories... Hello? Can I have this? Where did it go? Hold, please. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's not wanting to work right. There we go. Okay. Wow, I like him. Okay, great. Now you don't have to... Oh, I don't know why that popped back up. Why is it doing like that? Hey, boys. Let's fix that. There we go. Okay, so this is a book. I'm going to have to reference it here. Hopi Prophecy, Blue Star Kachina. I will leave a link for the book and the author in the description. There are no copyright infringements, because I had commentary and I don't read the whole book of any book. But this reminded me of something, and I actually think I'm on the right path, and it goes back to I Pet Goat 2, and that's what else I wanted to have in this title. So I'm going to have to add that so that maybe people after this fact will watch the video. Now I'm going to escape my older puppies. Lay down, guys. Lay down and take a rest. Take your nappy. I'll be back in a little bit, okay? And then we'll all go outside again. I'm sorry about that, guys, but thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Okay, there you go. Here's Sammy. And so I wanted to look at this, and you'll see exactly why in just a minute. And then we have to look up I Pet Goat, because this is where it gets weird. The Hopi name for this star is Sirius. Okay, so we got this, the blue one is blue star kachina. It will come when that's almost like Sasquatch. Saquashoa, blue star kachina, dances in the plaza and removes his mask. Now, I found a different article about this where they call it a her and not a him. I don't know if that matters, but let's continue. When the blue star kachina makes its appearance in the heavens, the fifth world will emerge. This will be the day of purification. In Hopi mythology, the blue star kachina, or Saquashua, sorry if I butchered that, is a kachina or spirit that will signify the coming of the end of the world by appearing in the form of a blue star. The blue star kachina is said to be the ninth and final sign before the day of purification, described as a world-engulfing cataclysm that will lead to the destruction of the earth. Some have interpreted the prophecy of the blue star kachina to be a reference to the impending arrival of extraterrestrial life. A couple of things here. The day of purification. Catholics have spoken about the day of illumination. And a lot of us have said, and I don't think anyone's actually touched on it yet, a lot of us are going through that. That's what we've been going through since about 2018, is an in-depth, great examination of our own conscience. And now I've told TIs, to targeted individuals, you cannot stay in a rut where you're calling yourself a TI or you're thinking of yourself as targeted. You have to understand that that can lead to some narcissistic feeling, and it leads to further isolation and exclusion. You don't want to do that to yourself, okay? You have to have good thoughts about your own self and your own life, and it's best to be that way about others too. However, it's also wise to be prepared. If you can read the signs, for example, in the heavens that there's an impending thunderstorm coming that could include tornadic activity, would you stay in the same place? Would you continue folding and hanging your laundry outside? No, you wouldn't. You'd gather up your laundry, put it in the basket, and take it inside so that it didn't get taken away by the storm. Same thing for our spiritual lives. If we see these signs that society is decaying and falling apart around us in pieces, that our children, as much as we love them, because it's just another generation further from God and further from truth, that our children are erroneous in some of their thinking. When we see these things happening around us and we see that our society is supposedly becoming more debaucherous by day, I don't know for a fact. I do not go into the cities anymore. I don't really travel right now, although I'd like to. I don't think the cities are the wisest place to be. Yes, you'll have people there, which is a good thing. But there's also a lot of clutter. And when there's a lot of clutter, it's easy for things that you can't see to hurt you or to hide behind that clutter. And you ignore them or forget they're there, that there's danger there. And then one day you get caught in that spider's web, for example. So I try to stay out of the cities, but when we see these certain signs coming, we should understand that we need to respond or react appropriately so that we can best navigate these choppy, storm-filled waters. Not for ourselves, as most of us are mothers or fathers or someone who loves someone very much. I am blessed in that way. I've got people on the channel that follow the channel who still have compassion, who still seem to have their hearts, and that is a true blessing and almost a miracle in this day and age, that anyone would actually have true love for their brothers and sisters and show true compassion. I'm not talking about virtue signaling. I'm not talking about the words that come out of somebody's mouth. Love is a verb. It is an action word. Just like compassion is an effect of love, right? It springs forth from a love that someone has for their fellow man. So now that's interesting. It says that the blue kachina will dance in the plaza and remove his mask. Hold, please. There's a part in the Bible where the word plaza is used, and I've been trying to interpret it, what it means, because it talks about right near the two witnesses. We've gone over this before, but not this part of it. It talks about how oh, fiddle dee dee, I'm sorry, this is a lot to like tie together, but it all goes together. So it talks about this land, and it says to set aside. I think it uses the word atrium, but atrium and plaza are almost the same thing. So let's look at that real quick, just to be sure that we're, as we read, let's make sure we're being conscious readers. Okay, so what was I going to look up? Plaza. I want to see what the original meaning for that is. Public square, yeah. Square, place, platina, courtyard, broad street. So what plaza? Do we know? Well, we at least know what it is. Okay, so hold please. I'm going to look something up. Just be patient. Okay, so in iPet Goat 2, there is a scene of there are all these things happening. All right, and as these things are happening, there's a young boy, it looks like a boy, I think, a native, in a mask, doing a dance. And they show him every now and again. They keep going back to him. Here's one part. The mask he's wearing looks like it has a duck bill. He's doing a dance around a fire. He has a star that's lit up in his chest. Okay, and remember, we just said that Antares is called the heart of the Scorpius constellation, okay? He has a star in his chest. I believe he is supposed to be the blue kachina, all right? Blue or red? Are we talking about blue or red? Blue, right? Yes, blue. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was right. Okay, so we see him doing this dance around the fire above everybody else as this as these events are unfolding. Okay, so I found that to be extremely interesting, extremely relevant, and I may do a lone video by itself just on this and pull up all of the screenshots. I actually watched it and I did screenshots of all of this. And see, it shows you his feet, how his feet change. He's got the jewels and feathers on his feet. And there's another scene I just want to show you. Again, we're looking at commonalities here. There's another scene of a woman in a tower. She also has her chest lit up, but I think it's her heart that's lit up and not whatever else is going on here. She is an older woman. I think she's a native because she doesn't have a shirt on. iPet Goat, woman in tower. iPet Goat 2. Sorry, guys. Thank you for your patience. Is this her? No, that's the woman who loses the son with, again, the one eye. And why does she lose the sun? What is in their one eye, huh? It says, let our eye be single and full of light. If your eye is single and full of darkness, I'd imagine that is the opposite of what we are told how we should be. They're not bringing any of those scenes up. See, this is why I ended up having to watch the whole thing. Someone told me about this scene, and I went looking for it, and there aren't any screenshots. Let's see. Let's use the internet's favorite words and see if they can find it. There she is. Okay, it doesn't show you. But from the sky, this woman is in a tower, okay? She's in a tower. And you see her half naked. And she is also menstruating, which is bizarre, okay? And we've gone over a lot of that and what it has to do with things that are happening right now. I've been as sensitive as I can to the topic. You see she does have skivvies on, and then it shows, I'm not going to get too in depth here. Again, these are all available publicly. There. Is that? Oh, no, that's the boy with the mask. So there's a scene where all this starts, and the tower, maybe it's the tower itself, has a heart that is lit up, like the little boy that we saw with the mask. Okay? So you have a lot here. Now, let's look up red kachina and blue kachina. Again, I just do this with everybody, so you know where to start with these topics. Okay, so are they not red kachina and blue? Why is everybody talking about just the blue? They're twins, right? And we know how important twins are in this world, too. Blue star kachina. Okay, I think it's just a twin of the red star. Actually, the red star might not have anything to do with this part of things, but we're just covering our bases. Now, this is a favored site of mine, but look at this. What does that look like? Does that look like the boy in the mask that we just saw? Looks like it to me. Look, he's got the star on his shoulder. He's got one on his chest. The mask is very similar. I'm not sure what is up with teeth. That's a whole nother spiritual thing we're going to have to look into. Is that a serpent that is going through his beard and headdress there? So there you have it. The I Pet Goat 2 connection to all of this. Anyone here? The Blue Star Kachina prophecy is a Hopi revelation about the coming end of civilization. The prophecy describes a heavenly being called the Blue Star who will arrive on Earth, will signal the beginning of the end times. The Blue Star Kachina has a twin brother, the Red Star Kachina, whose arrival will come later, bringing about the destruction of most life on Earth, according to the prophecy. The Hopi will survive the apocalypse in an underground refuge and resurface when the time is right. This is my problem with this. Antares, is it the Blue Star Kachina? I don't necessarily believe that it is, but I believe that we are in this time. You're seeing the I Pet 2 goat connection there. And again, my system, my personal life has always been a little bit ahead of everybody else. Everybody else went into this tribulation in 2019. It happened for me in 2018. So I've always been a little ahead of the curve. Not that that's a good thing, because in this situation it's not. But it gives me good foresight and good insight into what's occurring. And the Red Star Kachina seems like it's more of a problem right now. It seems like we're closer to destruction, and I don't want to get people's spirits down, okay? The whole point is that I can't help you prepare your bodies. I'm not rich. I'm not a prepper in that way. I do what I can. I believe in prepping yourself, right? Prepping your soul, honing your skills. If you're already a camper, if you're already a fisher, do that better. Learn how to do that better. Be more innovative, be more creative. Learn how to, if you're a master fisherman, learn how to fish then with just a string and a hook and a rock or something, right? You see where I'm going with this. Always know how to sustain yourself, right? But through bettering yourself in your own skills, you'll better be able to help those around you, your loved ones, your family, which spreads outward to the community. See, I believe that for the last at least year and a half, that even celebrities, that a lot of I think this explains a lot, okay? So if you look at, for example, if you take a look at the celebrities right now, why are they pulling out all these 80s celebs again? Why are they pulling out all of these older celebrities? People love celebrities. People love to follow celebrities. And people love distraction. And they want us to be distracted. They don't want crime running rampant. They don't want people panicking. Not everybody involved in the earth at this time is wicked or evil. But there are some who go along to get along, and there are some more still who are doing what most smart people would do. If you had a bunker for your family, would you invite everyone there? Would you tell everyone that's what you were doing? No. Would you tell everyone that it's a time to panic? No. I'm not telling you to panic either. I'm just telling you the truth of how things look. It looks as if There is no one minding the store. What do I mean by that? I've said this since 2019 when CV began in America. I was one of the first channels to show how our president was being deep faked to us. I said that from pretty much the end of Trump's reign. I said, look, that don't look like him. That body's jerky. He's not actually looking at the people that are around him. His eyes are focused on something else that doesn't appear to be there. Even if you look in the crowds of people that they show and you pause them, none of them look like they're noticing the person next to them. They don't look like they're touching, even though they should be, right? Their bodies are smushed together. They don't look like they're actually touching. They look more like card box figures or paper dolls. And that's what you'll have when you create AI characters, or you take one or two people, put them in front of a green screen, and then you copy and paste them to make it look like there's an audience. Now, for those of you who have ears to hear, it would be a good time to prepare, to hone your skills, to not go anywhere alone. Because I think that actually it is a time of lawlessness. I think they're trying to tell us in a variety of different ways. Why would it be lawlessness? Because most of the other people who make the laws, I don't think they're here anymore. I think they're hiding, or something happened that we're unaware of. That part of the curtain has not yet been revealed. But I don't believe that these people are outliving daily life anymore. I just don't. You'll see that a lot of celebrities have said they've moved. But how many have you actually seen outside recently? They're always talking like us from their rooms, and how rare is that? And they want to be seen so badly. That's what they're used to. They're used to entertaining people. Then why aren't they on the bigger screens? Why aren't they out making movies? Why? Well, the younger people now probably think it's my time. I've been called up. I can be a star now, much like the minor leagues feel about the major leagues. When in reality, those who are in the majors just know that the system is crumbling and it doesn't really matter anymore, and that they have to keep the people entertained. Well, are you not entertained? Like Russell Crowe says in Gladiator? Listen, I don't think that any of these people, why do you think they're showing us old clips? Why do you think when they refer to somebody in the political parties that they're showing us all these old videos? Very little of it is current unless it's newer people, younger people, or people they've put out from the 80s, like I said, for the entertainment niche. Why are they doing this? Because all the people worth something were told, hey, you better go hide because things might get rough. People could start to panic once they realize what's actually going on. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to agree with me. But you are here, and so I feel the need to share the truth with you, whatever that truth may be. So the blue star kachina has a twin brother, which is the red star kachina, which will arrive later. Now, let's hold this open, because I want to... Alright, so I don't know if this is going to tell us exactly, but let's take a peek, because I'm curious. I want to know if they've decided yet, because every time I review this and I come back to it, because yes, when there's something you're interested in, you know, things change daily on this plane. You should go back and check the information, see if anything was updated or changed or altered or edited. That way you have a better idea of what's happening. So let's see. It's a kachina or spirit that will signify the coming of the beginning of the new world by appearing in the form of a blue star. It will be the ninth and final sign before the day of purification, described as an apocalypse or a world-engulfing cataclysm that will lead to the destruction of the world. Day of purification, would that come before or after the 3 days of darkness? I do believe that's going to be a thing. Too many people have dreamt about it, heard about it. And yes, you can dream about things you read about. That's not what I'm saying. I mean in the beginning of the prophecy. Okay, so author Jason Colavito investigated this prophecy and found no reference to it before the late 20th century. Now, here's the problem we run into. So many people want to upstage the Bible, or they want to make it not relevant anymore. They don't want people to believe in the Bible. Why? What would anyone gain from keeping us from that? Well, number one, they'll keep you from your inheritance that God set aside for you. If you want to know what your inheritance is, you got to read the book. Second thing is, why would they want people to disbelieve the Bible? Because if you believe the Bible, then you believe God, and then you recognize all the lies that you've been told. You realize that there are certain things that could and never would happen in the face of a loving God. And so you realize that a lot of the games that are played here are merely deception. Even stories about certain murders taking place. And again, I've lost friends to gun violence. I'm not saying these things don't happen. I'm saying we're in a day and a time where there's a lot of deception, and a lot of what we read is not truth. Okay? Knowledge does not equate automatically truth. Those two are not mutually exclusive. Knowledge can be a fallacy, a farce, a lie, a deception. Okay? So just because you see words on paper doesn't make them true, right? You know this. I don't have to tell you this. Now, by writer Frank Waters, now he's the one who started writing about it, and now they have these Hopi Native Americans talking about this. I've told you before, I think there's a deception happening regarding people and tribes, a big one. I don't want to get into it right now, but you can see who sells out, right? You have Native Americans who are still living on reservations and whatnot, and then you have some who've sold out and they run casinos now. Who are you going to believe? The one who's running the casino and living that way? Or are you going to believe the one who is still humble, living in their humble abode, who has no reason to lie to you? These people lie because they don't want to lose their lifestyles. Their lifestyles are too important to them, and they want to hang on to those lifestyles until the last second, even if that means lying to other everyday regular folks like us in getting us to disbelieve things that are true. The creator, his nephew. So this gets into the story, okay, of the Hopi and the red kachina and the blue kachina. Now, we are going to look into this more. You will hear of a dwelling place in the heavens above the earth that shall fall with a great crash. God said that heavens and the earth shall be destroyed and new ones shall be created. That's what you have with entropy. That sounds like it could be truth. Now, would God ever allow his children to endure such a thing? Well, knowing that we are eternal and knowing that what does not end us makes us stronger, absolutely God can make us go through trials. This is why I'm kind of against the rapture doctrine, is because God did not lift Noah out of trouble. He gave him the resources that he would need. He gave him the fortitude and the faith that he would need, but he did not just pluck him up out of that situation. However, with Jonah, the reluctant prophet, he did pluck him up out of where he was going, or trying to go, and kind of made him go where God wanted him to go. Okay? So it all depends on free will, and if your will lines up with God's. Because there are times that our will not line up with God's, and he will do things around us and work things around us to still bring good out of that bad. All things go to the good. You have to understand that. Even the bad things and the wicked things are here to make us stronger. And a lot of the bad and wicked things we hear about are deceptions to keep us in fear, to keep us locked down in our own minds. I know this because I've went through that type of abuse. I understand how that hierarchy operates, okay? Okay, so this is what he says, goes on to say in the book. Very soon after that, it appears as the blue star, and very soon after this, the ceremonies of my people will cease. So he's saying, once they see that blue star, they're going to stop doing what they're doing. Here's another problem I see with a lot of this. Society, the public, people, us, we are expecting all of this to be televised. Well, how will we know? We have to watch for the signs. When we see the signs, that's when it's time. How are we going to see the signs on television? We have to learn to look up at the sky. We have to learn to read the sky. If we want to survive in any type of way, you have to learn how to do this for planning cycles. We all need this. Your children need this. I know everybody wants to stick with, well, they got college, they got soccer games, they've got dentist appointments. I'm not telling you to stop all those things. I'm telling you there has to be a way for you to fit in how to teach yourselves and your children how to be self-sustainable. Because as much as people don't like hearing this message, something wicked this way comes. And we should be able to recognize that by now. That things are still weird. People still aren't all over the streets. Any video you watch of New York, that's not what New York looked like. Go watch a news clip from the 80s and then watch one of these YouTubers from right now that are allegedly in New York, and you tell me those streets look anywhere near the same. Where have all the people gone? Where are all the people going? We have to stop living for this world, for the secular, for the entertainment, for the dentist appointments, for the soccer games. You have to be prepared. It's just what wise people do. You should want to prepare your children. They should want to prepare their children. What have I done that I could use as an example? I've learned how to plant seeds. I'm doing my best to learn how to grow different seeds. I'm learning what works and what doesn't work for them, when to water them, how much to water them, right? What works for this plant isn't going to work for that plant. And yes, it's work, okay? But it's gratifying work because I know that if it comes down to it, I can sustain myself. I know how to fish. I can outfish or outdrink most men that I know. And I'm not bragging on the drinking part. I'm just saying, what's a better way to spend your time? Something is happening. We might not know exactly what, and everybody wants a savior. All right, well, there's aliens. They'll save us. Do you think that's going to happen? Have you done that for anyone? Because I have noticed that karma is a real thing. Now, Christians, we will call it consequences for your actions, right? But you could call it karma. It's the same darn thing. It means the same thing. If you haven't done it for another, chances are it's not going to be done for you. If you have not fed others when in their time of need, chances are you won't be fed in your time of need. If you have not clothed others in their time of need, chances are you won't be clothed in your time of need. Do you see where I'm going with this? These videos aren't for everybody. There are a lot of people that we have that are just glued to the entertainment world. And they want to see, and I know I watch some of the videos myself. Let's point at them and say how bad they are. Let's point fingers at all these people and say, oh my gosh, look at what wickedness they're doing. Look at how wicked that is. But we're watching it. And we're not stopping it. Turn away from it. Learn something. Learn how to grow plants. Learn how to feed yourself. Learn how to fish. Not everybody believes in it, but learn how to hunt if you believe in eating animals. At least catch your own food, and that way you know it's safe as well. Something is coming. Okay, now they've been talking about these cargo ships and about how transporting things is very difficult, and you should be able to put all these things together, and all the protests. If they wanted to stop those protests, they could have stopped them by now. They're still showing us videos of people protesting in France. That's been going on since YouTube began. So I'd really like to know what's actually going on over there. I don't think they're telling any of us. And I don't think the TV is a good source for information. Not even the news. It's not a good source for information. We have to look at the nature around us. We have to look to nature. We have to look to the people. How is nature behaving? Are your animals acting out of order? Are they strange? Are they not following their normal patterns or habits? Because all these earth changes affect your animals as well. Ladies, how are all these changes affecting you as a woman? Your cycle, is it still normal? Is everything okay with the moon? These are questions we ask to investigate our own lives and environment so that we can maybe predict and or avoid something that may be coming on the horizon. It's just wise. It's just what wise people do. Now, you could sit in front of your mirror and spend 2 hours on your hair, Or you could spend 2 hours reading a book, learning how to plant, and then going out and physically doing it and experiencing it and applying it. Or learning how to sew from your grandmother so you can fix and mend your own clothes if it comes down to that. These are things people can't take away from you. These are things nature itself, when it's destructive, cannot take away from you. Your skills can't be taken away from you. Your skills can't be stolen from you. Right? The more you can take care of yourself, the more you can help those around you. So is this really going to happen? Well, if you read the prophecy in its entirety, and they're very funny about letting us read it, but if you read what is available on it, and then you compare it to Revelation, the book of Revelation in the Bible, the original one is called the Apocalypse of John, and there's actually more in there too. They're trying to hide things from us. Are we going to be that stubborn and say KJV only, KJV only, if I tell you for a fact that the Catholic Bible came first and there's more information in there that you might need? We cannot be this stubborn. We cannot be this obstinate. Yes, be firm in your faith. Be firm in your values of protecting life, protecting your family, of telling the truth, right? This is how we combat everything that's happening now, is just with goodness. And I know that sounds like people almost want to vomit when you say, oh, be good. Oh, well, you're a goody two-shoe. Like when it turned into a bad thing to try and do good things for your neighbors and to ask questions, that's when things really started down the road of no return for our society. Think about it. When you're told not to feed the homeless, that's a crime, we don't have to listen to that. That's not God's law. That's not what God told us to do. But yet people are listening. Well, I don't want to break the law. Sometimes laws are meant to be broken, and that's the whole point that people aren't seeing. Not every law was created for us. Some of the laws were created to keep humans safe from these others that dwell with us. But we've been told all along, it's all our book, our book, our book. Yes, we are in that book, but a lot of the laws are to keep us safe, because not everybody is human. And again, I know nobody wants to hear that, but at this point in time, it's the truth. Can you honestly look around at your family and tell me that they're behaving the same way that they did 5-10 years ago? Yes, people change. I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a change in their personality, a change in who they are and how they walk their life out. I've seen so many people compromise. And I've always been on the opposite end of everybody else. Everybody else goes to sleep and I finally wake up. Everybody else is following the crowd and doing all these strange, debaucherous things. And I'm the one saying, please don't do that. Please, can we just take a minute? So here we showed how the Blue Star Kachina matches the dance in iPet Goat 2. I don't want to show the clip. I mean, you can, as long as you post. It's per the Fair Use Act. But on a channel like mine that's small with no sponsors and is just here to talk to people and try to learn with you all and try to educate you, and you guys educate me on things I don't know and point me in directions, that I need to go, that I need to look at. Because we all have different areas of wisdom and we all have different areas of talent and skill. So we should be sharing that with each other, right? So I try to share my gift of words and my gift of foresight. I don't know what you'd call it. I don't want you to call it anything. I just want us to try and do the best we can do and to ride out these waves. I want to get to the time of peace and harmony. Like, that's where I want to go. But we can't skip the refinement purification process, or we'll never get to the place where we can all live in harmony with each other. We have to first be refined and let go of some of our bad habits. I mean, it's what has to happen. And again, people don't want to hear that. I'm sorry that you don't. Okay. So, this is all super interesting to me. It is early. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up. But what I'm going to ask you guys to do, I want you to post below. What element of this do you want to look into? Should we still keep trying to pull it all together?
Do you want a long live this evening? Will you have more time where we can look at the specific Bible verses and the Hopi Prophecy itself and just go more in depth? Or do you think this is a waste of time and we should be looking at something else? And if you do think it's a waste of time and think we should be looking at something else, please, by all means, share that. Share that with the class and let me know and say, hey, I don't think, this is really helping us. Where did it go? I am looking for something. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I want to show you something I found that's really, really cool, but I'm kind of doxing myself because I forget where I put it on my phone. A lot of these things I don't even use, but it is what it is. Where are you? I think it's called Interstellar. I thought it was blue, but I could be wrong. Where'd you go? Oh, fiddle-dee-dee. I wanted to, it has it's a rain, that's right. It has the little teardrop looking things. Hold please, I'm sorry. This is really cool. I think you'll like it. That's the only reason I'm still looking for it, is because I think y'all will really appreciate it. Once I get there, I have way too much on my phone. I know, there it is. Okay, so this is called Time and Date. And if you scroll down right here, this will show you your night sky from wherever you are. Okay? So if you click on it. Now, a lot of these things aren't visible now because it's daytime here. The moon will come up again at 3:11. Went down at 3:31. So we can do that. But if you do like this, it'll show you kind of where you're at. There's Cassiopeia. There she is. Oops. I'm sorry. Where are you? I just want to look. Oh, see, this is a recording, I believe, from yesterday. Yeah. But usually it'll show you where you are and what's above you and what should be below you. And I think that's really, really cool. I think there's Perseus. Okay. Aries. So this is what I should be seeing, or should have seen, from my night sky last night or yesterday, different times of the days. Okay, I'm in the Northeast, so that's why I see what I see. But I think it's a really good way to start learning. Now, people will say, but astrology is not allowed in the Bible. Again, I beg of you, what they're telling us was one thing then is not the same thing now. Okay, I'm not someone who necessarily thinks we need to disregard the Old Testament, but at the same time, there are things in there that don't mean what they meant then. The word witch, never suffer a witch to live. It doesn't mean what it meant then. The definition for witch has changed. Okay? If it's someone who messes with crystals, well, then half the prophets are going to have to go too, because they all dealt in gemstones, because God asked them to. We have to really change who we're listening to, who we're vibing with. Change your frequency. If you find that you're stuck in a place and your heart knows it's the wrong place to be, and I'm talking mentally here, you got to raise your vibration. You got to change something you're doing. Quit eating so much white sugar, right? Drop the sugar, drop the pop. That will calm you down. That will make your spiritual vision clearer. And these are just suggestions. I'm not telling you have to do something or you shouldn't do something. These are things that I have done in my life, and I found them to be very helpful. I know that when I consume certain things via my mouth or my eyes or my ears, it skews my own vision. And this is a good app to talk about skewed vision on, because this will show you the night sky from wherever you are. And then it'll also let you peek at tomorrow or the day before, and even to go to other places. I think you have to enter in a certain longitude and latitude to do that. However, the point remains the same. If you're standing in a place and you know your perspective is skewed, you can just tell that it's wrong, but you're stuck in your ways and you're obstinate and you're stubborn and you know that you don't listen to other people and that maybe sometimes you should, then it's time to change your frequency. And the only way to do that is by consuming better things like pure air, pure water, and nothing but for a day or two to get the rest, the junk out of your system. The body can go 40 days without food. 40 days. So how badly do we need these jobs to get this food that grows on trees that we could just go pick anytime? This whole system is a house of cards. It's an illusion. It's a lie. And yes, I know you have yourself tied up in it and you're attached to it. That's the spider web, right? You have all these strings attached to all these things and all these fake ideologies and all these, the car, the boat, the trips, the traveling. We have to learn to let that stuff go. The stuff that's extra. I'm not talking about your own spirit. I'm not talking about your soul. I'm not talking about the love that you hold in your heart or the compassion. I'm talking about all the stuff you don't need. All the stuff that was piled on and that is not natural to you. It's not inherent to your system. The only thing we really need is God and each other. We do need each other. We're built to be that way. But there are times when we must be in solitude and isolation to allow ourselves to be refined, to purify ourselves so that our vision is clear. Okay, so post below, let me know what you want to look at. I'm getting on a summer schedule here, so I can do either chats at night or I can do face-to-face talks early morning maybe with some notes if you guys want to have like a whole video where I do the research and I tell you about Cassiopeia and all that stuff, or the Jim Carrey phenomenon. We can go over a couple of those things again and do fresh videos on them since the older ones are gone and since some time has passed and there is a little thing, there can be little details to add to those. But you let me know. The next thing I want to look at is I want to know, can I do this? Yes. The next thing I want to know is if, I'm sure there's a lot of criticism here, references. Now, they're saying that they think this prophecy is a late 20th century invention that they couldn't find anywhere before a certain date. Look, Native Americans also are used to having things stolen from them. Their history is oral. Their fables, their legends, their wisdom, it's all oral, by mouth. Oral means by mouth, right? Everything is oral, their traditions, all of it. That's why the Jewish people are so much more together. America might be a melting pot, and we were told all these great things about it. And yes, I love my country. I'm not going to wish anything bad for it, right? Because a country is full of people. We have to understand that. But at the same time, again, we don't have to believe everything we're told. We need to do the footwork. When I was in school, this was known. We talked about Native American cultures, and it was known that they did not write things down, that their legends and that their lessons were all passed by word of mouth. They think that that's more reliable than writing things down because that way it has to stay in your mind, and the more you tell it, the more you will remember it. There are some people that will use the example of the game of telephone. Well, you start one thing, you whisper it in a person's ear, and by the time it gets around the room, it's a whole different thing. But is that truth? Would that be the same circumstances, that controlled environment? Would that be the same as a Hopi elder passing that on to his grandchild? No, because those people are actually interested in what they're doing and what they're learning. They know how important it is, so they would not allow it to be corrupted. It would not be like that game telephone. We have to really use our critical thinking skills at this time, and I urge you, if you have camping skills, if you have hiking skills, if you have nature skills, get them in check. Walk every day, hike every day, even if you are someone who struggles with your health, like I have been. Walk every day. Walk or take a bike ride or, do these things to improve your own system. But there are things we have to let go of. I've almost totally let go of meat. Like, I'm done with the media. I don't want any part of it. Because if it is the end of the world, do you think they're going to tell us? Do you think they're going to want us to know? No. If they know something like that, they're not going to tell people because they're not going to want a panic to spread. People still think there's going to be an election. I honestly don't think there will be. That's just my opinion right now. I was very surprised that we had the last election. I can't see it happening again with everything that went wrong previously. We're probably already in a time of lawlessness. Those who are still here with us either are the last in line and they don't want to actually be here, or they are here because they want to be here and they want to help us ride whatever is coming out. But there is something coming, even if it's only spiritual, but I don't think so. When you see things manifest in the spiritual, or things happen in the spiritual and then they manifest in the physical. Again, I'm the opposite. I can see things happening in the spiritual, so I know then that something is going to happen in the physical. I just don't know exactly what. But remember that the stars in the sky affect the tides of the ocean down here, which means they affect the creatures as well in one way or another. So I think that might be what we'll do. If I go back to this tonight, we'll go a little more in depth. We'll look into what planets or stars they think the blue kachina really is. I know that Sirius, the dog star, they consider to be Planet X or Nibiru, I believe. But that's changed a couple times throughout history. If you follow these prophecies, you'll see that, when certain things didn't occur, they had to change their mindset or what their mindset of what this time would look like. And this looks a lot different than a lot of us thought it would. Honestly, it does. We thought it would be physically bad. What we're dealing with here, though, is totally spiritual, and it's a spiritual war. That is the real war. Are there any other wars happening? The Bible tells us wars and rumors of wars, and I think that the only real war at this time is the spiritual one. I think the other ones, again, are to instill fear in us so that we are easier to control that way. I think the places that they tell us are doing poorly are places that they don't want us to be. Why that is, I don't know. I think a lot of this is complete reverse psychology. They tell us something bad is happening in an area that's actually thriving because they don't want us, the useless eaters, there. They just want to be there themselves. Do you see how I'm trying to paint a picture here of how your mind should start to work at this point in time? That's what this channel is about, is helping us all prepare our minds and our hearts and our souls and our spirits. It is to get you to see with those spirit eyes as you're supposed to, and remember that you're a spirit being first, and to trust your instincts and what they are telling you. Gee, guys, thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, the lack of encouragement makes continuing on with videos very difficult as well. It makes it hard to keep going. Again, I realize I'm not like other channels. I get it. I know that. I'm not a professional. I don't know that I want to waste my time learning how to edit and doing things like that. It's not because you're a waste. It's not because I'm a waste. It's because I think my time is better spent preparing my body, preparing my heart, my soul, my mind, my spirit, and trying to help others do the same. The strong Christian apocalyptic themes in the prophecy make plain that Young was likely far more than mere transmitter of the prophecies. Now that's the thing, is that they do line up with Revelation very well. Although there was evidence these were circulated in pamphlets in 1959, the earliest printed mention Calavito found in them is 1980 in Rolling Thunder, The Coming Earth Changes by Joey R. Yakmans. The prophecies entered the alternative mainstream in 87 in a New Age event, the Harmonic Convergence, when many gathered at Prophecy Rock at the Hopi Mesas. But there were no Hopi participants, and it was decried by Hopi elders. This is what I'm talking about. When something is hijacked by others, right? I am a Caucasian female who probably has Native American roots, I believe. I have very good reason to believe that. However, you have the white man coming in and looking at all these things, right? And this is the problem you have with America being a melting pot. Nobody knows where their roots actually go to. And because of that, they compensate, right? people tried, and that's what happens when you don't have roots. And I know this because I didn't really have them, not the way I should have. And so I compensated. I was always wanting people to like me. I was always wanting to fit into a clique or a group or a club. When here, I didn't fit into any of them, which ended up being all right for me, but excuse me. So what you have is the white man coming in and hijacking certain things and going to Hopi Rock to have a harmonic convergence. Again, you have that new age element. And the Hopis weren't even involved in that. This is where you have to spread the wheat from the chaff, right? This is where you have to really separate certain things and dig into what is factual and real and provable, and then what is not. And I'm not talking about faith, faith in these things, that's different. So there's evidence gathered by Armin Gertz that the Hopi continuously recreate their prophecies to justify current conditions. Those are Calavito's words. And that all the prophecies were composed after the events they prophesy. That's interesting, and I've said similar things about certain books. How hard would it be if you were an elitist or somebody in control of the media to write down or create a prophecy, hide the technology from people so that they didn't know you could do it, and then put something in the sky that they think is a real apparition or image of, Christ or somebody, when in all reality it is just a hologram. These are all things we have to keep in mind. But, again, on the other end of things, we have to understand that there are certain people who would like to undermine this. Like, why would this man come along, write a book that he wants to sell, he wants to make money on, degrading somebody else's work who came before him? If you want to do it just for the sake of truth, then you'll release a paper or a journal or an article. You won't write a book and then go on book tours to sell your book. It's all about money. All of it. And I'm sorry, but it disgusts me. It's kind of gross. I find myself very grossed out by the system lately and life itself, like the way life is running through the system. People are like, well, you'll be homeless. And my sister, I talked to her once in like 5 years. She was telling me she was going to Florida, of course, but it was a Facebook message, so it might not even been real. But the point being, Florida is kind of where everything started for me. She knows that, and she had went there before and allegedly did some heinous things when she went there. That's not my mother had concerns about life insurance, and that's still a concern of mine all these years later. I think that the way we operate is heinous. How could you want to have life insurance on somebody, which encourages people around you to be materialistic and then to maybe end you because they want your material goods? It's all backwards to me, and I don't understand it. And my sister said she was going down to Florida, and, oh, it's a shame, all these homeless people. Did anyone ever think for a minute that maybe those people left the system because they could not any longer be yoked within it? Did anyone ever think that maybe they left because they have real values and morals, that maybe they're not helpless, that maybe they're not victims? Some of them, yeah. Some of them would take a free ride back into the system if it was given to them in a heartbeat. We know this. But some of them, I've watched their interviews, I've talked to some of them personally. Some people live that way. No, and I've seen people on Reddit in that lack of compassion. Well, they just don't like rules. They don't want to have rules. And when you're in a shelter, you can't have your drugs. Here's the deal. If I went to a shelter, and I've called a couple, I have thyroid medicine. Has nothing to do with pain medication. They would even take my thyroid medication and give that to me when they thought was best. That's not cool with me. I have to take that medicine same time every day, at the beginning of the day, before I eat or drink anything else. That's how that has to be done. Plus, if you're in a family, if it was me, my husband, and my son, for example, they would take my husband and my sons and they would put them in one building. And they would take me and they would put me in another building. And sometimes the man and woman's shelter is not close. They are whole cities apart. Same institution, same mission shelter, different buildings for different genders. And then to boot, they ask you, if you tell them that you've been a victim of trafficking, of of a sexual nature, if you tell them that, they want to know who all your partners were and their names. Why would they want to make someone go through that again? That doesn't give them any information that they must have. So the people who are downgrading the homeless right now or the houseless, I really have no love for. If you're one of those people who blames everyone else and you say, oh, well, they want to be a victim, that they want to be a victim, they have that victim mentality. Honestly, I have nothing to do with those type of people at this point in my life. That means you have no compassion. That means you have no heart. And I get it. Well, I had to do it by myself. Why shouldn't they? That's not the point. That's not the point of any of this. Go ahead and take your free ride on the merry-go-round for as long as you're allowed to. The park's still going to close down, and those types of people are going to be left with nothing. Nothing. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. And I know you come here maybe for different things. But that's the whole point, is reaching people who might not hear this message to begin with. Watch some of the homeless channels. Read some of the comments if you have some free time. Make some time to do something like that, just to see how cold your fellow man has gotten. Just to see what people are actually thinking. Because people can virtue signal all day long. Oh, those poor homeless. We should really do something about it. They're everywhere on the streets. Our streets look filthy. Well, where are you going to put them? You just think, why do we think we have the right to tell someone else how they should live their life? Whether that be good or bad. Yes, certain things should be common knowledge. No stealing other people's property or wives or husbands. And no killing. Those are pretty simple. They should be easy rules to get through the day with. You shouldn't have a hard time avoiding ending somebody else's life during the day. That should not be difficult. We have no right to go and tell these people, hey, you're stinking up our roads, you should go somewhere else. Well, that's how the system's set up. You put all the help and all the agencies in the city area. Where do you expect these people to go if they don't have houses? You want them at your office a couple of times a week to take either a jobs class so that they can get the food stamps so they can, none of this. They want to indoctrinate people into the system. They want you to think that you need them to eat. There's a pear tree growing outside. You could go and grab a pear. But much like the Israelites who got sick of manna, we don't want that. We don't want stuff that grows off trees. Nah. We'd rather have, well, and I don't know because that's not me, but a lot of people would rather have oysters and caviar and escargot. And it's all gross, meanwhile. It's all nasty stuff. Something is coming, and a lot of people have known this for a long time. A lot of people, I knew that the system was not going to last when I was younger. It already looked like we were living in a used up civilization. Buildings were half fallen down. They were left there like that. Roads of brick on one side, cement on the other side, and layers of it, coming off. That's what I grew up in Braddock, where my grandma was. We claim that we're a thriving civilization, but if you look at nature and you see how all the buildings get covered and how quickly that happens, it makes you wonder, how old really is our civilization? How old really is our society? Because it almost feels like something already happened and they just never told us. They didn't want to tell us. But again, I digress. I live a little further ahead in the future than most people. Things seem to come into my life first, and then they go into the world, which is weird. It's weird seeing things like, as soon as I love the color teal and turquoise. My favorite color as a young person. As soon as I started wearing that color, it's everywhere. And people say, oh, well, you just notice it then. No, it literally was everywhere. We do affect our environments too. Of course, you're going to affect the people around you with your attitude and your thoughts and your behaviors. The stars and the planets in the sky, and I do believe we're under a firmament. I believe that the stars are fixed, or they're supposed to be fixed, in their paths. But I do believe at the same time that that absolutely affects us down here. The how or why, the reasoning of that, I am not certain. You'd have to ask a physicist who knows a whole lot more than me. But we know this, especially women, right? And this is, in this day and age, this is why I think women are closer to God. Because we do bring life into the world. Because we are the ones sending our sons off to war. Because we are the ones praying for the family as they go about their days. Even priests and pastors are worldly to an extent because they travel more. They get out more. They go to places. They see new things, new people, new places. They wear their suits. I don't trust that. I don't trust people in suits that are supposed to be teachers of faith. I'd really like to know if Caucasian people are allowed to go on reservations to like shop and learn and as long as we're respectful. Because I'd really like to start learning from a Native American Indian at this point. I would like to start learning their way of prayer, right? And how they meditate and how it is that they have so much inner strength and how they're so stoic. And that only comes from trial, guys. These trials that we're all going through now, allow them to refine you and make you stronger, not weaker. Now I'm going to run because this video got a little too long, but I did take a break and I do have a lot of things that I would like to discuss with you. And I do have my maps that I want to get into too. So watch the community tab. I'm going to do a survey about the maps and 411 and which aspect of that you'd rather look into. And also maps in their relation to certain events that have taken place in the U.S. over spots that have interesting sigils. We're going to look at sigils again, only so you know what is around you and how to avoid it. I'm not attempting to teach anyone witchcraft or anything like that, or summoning, compelling, nothing like that. That's something you're into. That's something you got to dig into on your own. But I don't think that everything is witchcraft, so we are going to look into how the stars affect us and our bodies. And is Nibiru the red kachina then? And was I Pet Goat telling us that the blue kachina had already occurred or was going to occur? And how far apart are the red kachina and blue kachina events? Now, we say the ninth and final sign. That would be something I'd be interested in looking at. So real quick, I want to see if there's like no table of contents here. I don't know what's going on. Hopi Indian culture and background, symbolism and mythology, Blue Star Kachina prophecy, concept of the Hopi world's prophecy rock, the 9 Hopi prophecies. There they are. Found them. Huh? Okay, so this evening, if you'd like, we can go in depth with this and look at the Hopi prophecy more in depth, okay? And I will pull out, I have pictures in my phone, screenshots of almost the whole dance that little dude does. And so we can look at his garb and attire. It actually looks a lot like, can I see that first picture? Can I just make it bigger? Looks a lot like that. His mask that he was wearing, right? Kind of looks like that. Kind of looks like that. So, if you guys would like, we can dig into this book a little bit this evening. This section of the book, if you'd like I said, just comment below. But there will be a couple of surveys because I actually have a lot that I found that I'd like to show you guys in relation to current events and what's going on in the world. Obama is up to things again, but I still have a feeling the way we're seeing things play out. I mean, what would be the most likely candidate to be the Antichrist? Could it be Joe Biden this whole time, a little old man, and nobody expected him? Could it be him? I don't know, man. I don't know, but something's wonky, you know, and something's definitely not right in our time, and I think things definitely have to change. But we got to make a choice. Are we going to go down this technological rail with everybody? Or are we going to put the brakes on and start going back to a slower, simpler way of life? That's what I would like to do. The problem is there are very few people that I know or that I trust now to be able to do that with. But I would encourage anyone with skills to start meeting people and meeting other like minds, and to start putting the brakes on this progressive society that we're living in, putting the brakes on in your own life and slowing down a little bit, turning the media off. Because again, they're not gonna televise the tribulation. They're not gonna televise persecuting people. If that happens, it's gonna be by God's will alone. We have to listen to our hearts, and we are here today. So today is what we have to be thankful for, and today is what we have to get through right now at this moment. I love you guys. And I know I've been a little disorganized, but I've been planting my seeds and learning, because apparently I did not store them well. I had some duds, so I had to plant some more. But it is a learning process for me. So I thank you for your patience. I thank you for still being here. You guys rock. You're awesome. And watch for a nature video soon, because I'd like to, we set up the tent outside. Sammy goes right in it. He seems to like it. It seems like he will camp with me. So we're going to try a night in the tent. If that's something you'd be interested in sharing in on the experience with me and Sam, let me know. It is a backpack tent, so it means it's a little smaller than most tents. But it does fit me and Sam. It is a 2-person tent. And we could have a fire. The problem is we put the tent up away from the fire. I don't know if I should move it closer. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think. Maybe I'll move it. But anyways, if that's something you'd be interested in, and just chatting and having an open chat while me and Sam kind of hang out in the tent and outside of the tent at the fire, let me know. That'd be kind of cool for me. But these are all things that you can look at further in depth, and that's what I would like to do this evening with the Hopi Prophecy and with the I Pet Goat 2. I can put all the screenshots I took in a folder and show them to you guys. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And if you're interested in seeing me and Sam camp and camping with us, let me know that as well, because I will have, I think, a little bit of money, not enough, not a lot, but if you want to actually see us camp at a campground, let me know, and maybe we'll go do that this coming weekend, me and Sam, for a night, like a Saturday to a Sunday, and we can walk around the lake and hike and take you guys with us. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I love you. I always have things that I want to tell you guys, but if all I did was make videos, I would not get my seeds planted or my dogs walked or my grass cut, and those are things that need done. I love you guys. Have a blessed day. Stay away from the media if you can, and take time to touch base with your spirit today and to pray and spend time with God, however that looks for you. Have a blessed day.